The problem that we have in the United States is the Confederacy is actively engaging in military insurrection by espionage terrorism, such as Lindsey Graham's bill to not have a remedy to Confederacy magic, which generates the exponential compounding interest of the liability of a parasite sucking the life out of the host. Now, the FBI is corrupt beyond all usable function. They are unreliable in every extent of the word, but those they're trying to give it to are exponentially more infected by Confederacy than they are. And since the problem is the Confederacy against the United States, dismantling the FBI is inadequate in its entirety. Um, Now, by definition, they are too compromised to the Confederacy to be used, and so they won't be there anyways. But at the same time, you have to understand that the functions of the government that they're actively restraining, like David's branch of the military for intelligence oversight, uh, actively collaborating under Congress, is the only real solution to these problems. Everything else is an exponential worse problem. It's like in Terminator when they have this virus that's flying around and causing everyone, and they're like, you can't really use Skynet for that because that would be like putting a grenade, that would be like a rocket launcher pointed at a fly. Skynet was the fly. The problem is the solution. The exponential catastrophic failings of DHS and other functional compromised departments are so catastrophically worse that the United States will never recover from having suffered them in those positions. There is no remedy to absolute catastrophic insanity. They are actively, by definition, at war with the United States rule of law. Their entire identity is an enemy of the United States government. If the FBI has contempt for Congress, those groups have the most unsettling, seething, boiling, frothing rage. Their goal as an infection for the Confederacy in the long-standing war against the United States is actively pushing for the WHO Treaty, which is designed to forfeit all powers of the United States to the one world government, which on maturity will bring Revelation's Antichrist. They are literally the worst possible decision you could possibly imagine. The political targeting of the United States functional successes projected by the military intelligence is an act of treason, sedition, and high crimes. They targeted David as a political adversary because of his unique qualities as the most powerful man in the country, according to Confederate custom. Now, this position actively compels them to the targeting of David Bowles for the express purpose of barring his function of the government, including his function as the aristocracy, which chooses and vets the Senate, which means by definition the ones voting for the Confederacy understand the aristocracy, the ones who choose whether or not they got their office, is actively going to bar them. The American loyal aristocracy would not allow the insurrections. They're targeting David, which means they never made it into the Senate. They never got voted in Congress. They never got voted in as president. They never got voted in as sheriff. It doesn't matter. They don't have any functional position, and thus their action isn't just outside of the office of them being color of law and color of office. they don't have the office. They were never legally elected. At which point, this illusion, which generates the catastrophic compounding threat against national security, is the tolerance of the infection against the host. This has led to exponential trades in the black market, specifically surrounding David. So they couldn't pay market price without losing from the aristocracy their positions. He wouldn't allow them to be elected because they aren't American loyal. So by definition, they catastrophically lose. So they can't choose market price. They can't do necessary force in order to win, because necessary force in order to win in strategic policies for overreaching powers doesn't protect their core goal of the military coup. And the engagement of that military coup requires them to collaborate with the Satanist cultists, and the religious radicals of the cultists actively conduct every aspect of the black market, such as the ones normal to the creation of cartels, which also includes their pedophile rings like Jeffrey Epstein or Jay Sekulow, who actively use the surveillance powers and manipulation such as nerve hacking and terrorist operations. Edward Snowden actively supported individual targeting, which is the targeting for subversives. So, like anyone who doesn't support the Confederacy would actively have their lives ruined by the government stalking them in a program called COINTELPRO and MKUltra, which actively was leveraged in collaboration with each other, which generates all of the crazies from the Manchurian candidates, such as their creation of, I think it was Charles Manson, and many of the others who historically are renowned criminals, who are by definition not guilty, because by definition the government doesn't have a right to make you guilty, and the government always had 100% control over them. And since the government was conducting its crimes through them, there is no right to punish them or prosecute them. The problem comes with the fact that they have been radicalized not just by compulsion, but by psychologically breaking them. So there needs to be specific series of policies put into place to fix the unique threat from the Confederacy conducting business as usual terrorism. The United States is a rule of law nation. National security is the security of the rule of law or the law of rights, which generates life, which is existence with human decency, liberty, self-determination, such as religion, and the pursuit of happiness, which is the right to have property that cannot be controlled by the government or manipulated. So, by definition, they can't say that we get to take your car and not give it back to you. It's not their property, it's your property. So, by definition, the use of extortions, such as their terrorist operations of poisoning the general public from the military, such as when they gave people syphilis and then refused to allow them to have access to medicine. Not just that they didn't give them the medicine when they had it, they actively made sure that they switched the real medicine with the placebo, which is a direct violation of the right to the body. Uh, the attack is designed to destroy human decency, which they don't care about. As Confederates, they are satanic wizards who are actively engaging in the most degenerate form of reality, which actively is the creation of the simulation where they aren't, in fact, the insufferable cuck that they've been raised to be, as they actively use the Fres Ubulu tactics in order to trick people who otherwise might have been good people, just, a little stupid, uh, to get trapped into these mechanisms who actively collaborate with the black markets who don't understand what they are until they've already fully devoted themselves beyond remedy, making it too expensive for them to leave in their own minds, such as the function of what they did with Lore's character, who uh, was actively subordinated to other people's functions. So it looks like it's her title, but it's actually somebody else's title. And so the bill looks intimidating. It just isn't hers. And so, like, these types of tricks are actively conveying the position of getting good people traumatized and stuff.